Football is scary. I feel like I have no idea what's happening. It makes it not fun for me to watch, so I don't want to. But I kind of do. Welcome to One Game at a Time, the show where I am learning football and I figure maybe you want to too. I know that this whole topic and this vibe and this general idea is very different from what you're used to seeing from me, but I want to tell you why I'm doing it. I've always really loved football. I thought that it was like a cool thing that a lot of people got to enjoy. My dad used to watch football a lot, so I always like feel comforted having it on, but I've never understood what was happening. And I always felt like there was this really intense barrier to entry because there's so many rules and so much lore and so many things that have happened already in this world that I know nothing about. So I felt like I could never catch up with it. And then whenever I was in a room where it was on, I didn't feel comfortable asking questions because everyone already knew all of these things. And I didn't want to interrupt, and I felt too stupid, and I got shut down when I did ask a question because there were things happening. And then, as I mentioned in my last video, some of you might have seen, I started dating a football boy. I know, it can happen to any of us. And I think there is this like stigma of like, oh, my boyfriend sits around and watch football all day and I hate it, da, da, da. I'm sure some people are super annoying about it. I'm sure some people are not fun to be around when football is on, whatever. I am lucky enough where my boyfriend Brandon loves football and like is so excited to get to teach me about it. And I'm so excited to get to learn about it from somebody who is so patient. And so I was thinking, you might be feeling that way too. Maybe you have a mother-in-law who loves football. Maybe you have a husband who loves football. Maybe you have a girlfriend who's doing a fantasy league and you have no idea what's happening, but you want to talk to her about it. That's why I'm here. I want to learn with you. I want to teach with you in a way that feels accessible to me. So hopefully it feels accessible to you. Eventually, I would like to tie this series back into the things that you're used to seeing from me. Food and my life and how all of these things fit and intertwine together, because they do. Football is, at least in America, for my American viewers, it is so popular, it's crazy. When you really start to look around, everyone has like some football promotion, some football thing, and I wanna know what's going on. Really, this series is just about how I'm a curious ass bitch, and I don't like feeling left out. So think of me as your coach, ushering you into the end zone of the field, where we will play the game of learning. I don't know much yet, so we're gonna figure that out together. Thank you. And with that, welcome to episode 1 of One Game at a Time, the kickoff to my football journey. We are going over the bare bones basics of football so that you can watch the next game with just a little more knowledge than you might have had before. What is the objective of football? Don't make fun of me. I literally asked that question last year to Brandon, and I don't know how he kept a straight face, but he did. He said, that's a great question. Just like most games, it's gonna be to outscore your opponent. You probably knew that. I was asking mostly to make sure, but I have to be honest with you in that I did ask that question. I'm gonna be using the word play a lot. That's because the NFL also does. They love the word play. It's a play, a play, a play. And so every time I was always like, is everything a play? What's a play? And kind of yes. A play is anything that happens after the ball is snapped, which means like given to. That's when they like bend over and, and toss it between their legs. Anything that happens after the ball is snapped and until there's an incompletion, an out of bounds, a touchdown, a fumble. There are 2 teams that play against each other each football game. They take turns throughout the game having possession of the ball. When you do have possession of the ball, and you're trying to score, meaning you're advancing forward, you are the offensive team. You can see right here, the team that I've highlighted is the offensive team. They're advancing the ball towards their end zone. I just said their end zone. What I meant to say was the opponent's end zone. I am still learning. Thank you for being patient. End zone is where a touchdown happens. That's where you have to get the ball to get the touchdown. Now, the defensive team does not have possession of the ball. They are trying to protect their end zone that the offense is trying to get to. The defense wants to keep the offense from scoring. That's their whole job. Now, there are a couple of times where the defense can score points. However, most of the time when points are scored, it's usually going to be the offensive team. The ball changes possession at a few different points in the game, which is when the offensive team becomes the defensive and vice versa. The ball possession change happens a few different times during the game, a couple of the main ones being after the 4th down play is completed. We're going to talk about downs next episode because I am still asking 100 questions about it. But basically, you can think of a down as an attempt. So you have 4 attempts or 4 downs to make it 10 yards. And if you don't, the ball possession changes. So who was the offensive team becomes the defensive. A change of possession is also going to happen after a team scores a touchdown, or after their 2-point conversion, or after their point after. Oh my God, what are those things? I'm so happy you asked. Now we're going to talk about points. And there are a couple of common ways that you score points in football: touchdowns, point afters, field goals, 2-point conversions, and safeties. I was like, oh, a touchdown is 7 points. And then Brandon was like, no, it's 6 points. And I said, well, then why do they always have 7 points afterwards? He goes, well, that's because of the point after. My God, are there so many rules? Honestly, in researching this video and talking with some people about it, it's funny. It seems like not even all the professional football players know every rule. Like, there's so many things. So I don't want you to feel uncomfortable or scared even just listening to this. So if at any point it's a little too much, I want you to leave down in the comments and tell me what would be helpful for you, because I want to try to accommodate everybody in this journey, because I personally always need a lot of accommodations. Now let's say you score a touchdown. A touchdown can look like a player diving or dancing or jumping into the end zone, or it can look like even one little baby centimeter of that ball breaking through the plane that begins the end zone, like right where that white line of the end zone starts. That counts as a touchdown if you get your ball through there. Okay, now your team just got 6 points from getting into the end zone. Incredible, great work, you're doing awesome. Now comes after the touchdown. After the touchdown, your team has 2 options. They can either attempt a point after or a 2-point conversion. Don't go anywhere. Conversion sounds scary. I know. I was like, what are they having to switch or play around with or whatever? It's just 2 points. Just think of it as the point after or the 2 points after. That's all you need to know. The point after is the opportunity for the team who just scored the touchdown, usually the offense, to get 15 yards behind the end zone and have the kicker come in and kick the ball into the uprights. That's the little football dealie, the little guy in the end zone that looks like a little peace sign. They gain 1 point if the kicker successfully gets this ball through the uprights. So now they have 7 points. That's why touchdowns often seem to be worth 7 points, because most teams do this point after kick, and a lot of them get it. Some of them don't. It is one of those things that I truly am like, I would get that kick every time. Meanwhile, this is some people's literal whole careers. They've planned their whole life around it. And I'm like, no, I'd get it. And so whatever they do, it's sort of like watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show and you're like, wow, she tripped. Can't believe it. Meanwhile, I'm on my couch eating hummus and pita bread. It is easier to get the point after than it is to do the 2-point conversion. And the 2-point conversion takes place 2 yards from the end zone. A 2-point conversion is a play where the offensive team who just scored the touchdown tries to run or pass the ball into the end zone from the 2-yard line. If they complete it, they get 2 points. Now the total is 8 points. You might be asking, well, why wouldn't every team after a touchdown just go for the 2-point conversion? That's a great question, and I asked it as well. So do a lot of longtime football lovers and people who know a lot about this game. Because it's like, hey, do you want 1 point or 2 points? Well, I'd like 2, please. It's simply a much harder play to complete. Now we can talk about field goals. Field goals are really cool. Field goals make a lot of sense to me as a novice football watcher, because I'm like, Okay, so if you kick the ball through the uprights at any point, don't you just get points? And Brandon was like, yeah, that's a field goal. A field goal is a kick made by the offense that scores 3 points. The ball is snapped from the long snapper, one of those special teams guys where that's his only job. He snaps the ball, throws the ball, and then it's held on the ground by kind of anybody on the team. It could be a center, it could be a running back. Somebody is holding that ball. And then the kicker comes in and kicks the ball. That's his whole job. He's one of those special teams guys too. Just kicks, that's all he does. Now, something you're gonna hear around the term field goal is field goal range. This might sound like, oh, okay, field goal range is always gonna be 30 yards from the end zone. Not necessarily. That's a good thought process, but it really is just dependent on the kicker. The average kicker tends to have a field goal range of like 50 yards, somewhere in there. But if you were watching football with the person who you're watching football with last week and you happened to catch the Steelers game, Chris Boswell completed a 60-yard field goal that actually ended up winning the game. So that was a big deal because it's further than most people do. And it was very impressive. It won the game. There's 3 points. There you go. Good job, Chris Boswell. And in one of the preseason games, there was a Jaguar player. There was a Jaguar. We'll learn together. Named Cam Little that completed a 70-yard field goal. So these really, field goal range is a very, very loose term. Now we are at safeties. Safeties are still a little confusing to me because they're not the one that's always talked about. I get touchdowns and now I get field goals. What's a safety? Great question. A safety happens when an offensive player is tackled in their own end zone, which is the one behind them, the one they're trying to advance away from. And if this happens, if that offensive player is tackled into their own end zone, the defense gets points for this. That's a safety. Now, this will usually happen when an offensive team is really close to their end zone and the quarterback backs up to throw the ball, gets tackled into their end zone, safety, and then they get 2 points from the safety. So we've gone over what's up with football. Why are we doing this? We went over what a play is. We went over how the teams change possession of the ball, what offense and defense means, and how a team can score points, as well as how many points each of those things is worth. I think that's a pretty good first episode. Maybe I'm off my rocker. That's for you to tell me. Come here. Come here. Even just doing this episode, I got about 35 more questions that I need to ask Brandon and we need to put into the next episode. So if you also have questions for Brandon, ask down below. Now, there are a couple things between you and I we have to get to. Firstly, I really want to say thank you for sitting here and doing this with me. Even if you aren't super interested in football and you just wanted to spend some time together, I really appreciate it. And I know that this is totally out of the blue coming from me, and maybe some people are gonna think I'm a poser and like, oh, you have a boyfriend now, so you're gonna do a bunch of football videos? I guess so, sure. I really am so excited to learn about something, and this is the most creative I've felt in a really long time. And it was so fun to get to write this with him, so thank you for watching. And Brandon, thank you for doing this with me. I love you. I would so deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate if you comment down below and let me know, 1, what are you still confused about? 2, what did you like learning about? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much more comfortable do you feel if you were to be plopped in front of a football game tomorrow? Thank you for being here. I know we're gonna get better at making the videos, and I want you to stick around for that because I think it could be really cool. And I like getting to learn with you, and it's really fun. Next week, we're gonna be talking about downs, timeouts, and positions. If there's something else you want me to touch on, let me also know in the comments below. I am the queen of comment homework, be it a video where I am making brownies talking about football or my dead dad. I'm giving you something to tell me about in the comments. And I appreciate it, and I love you for it. Let's go! 1 game at a time, baby!